Look, folks, it brings me no joy to report this because the Iranian regime is crazy. It's full of hardliners. We are all on the same page there. But Iran is still very much inflicting damage on the United States and our allies around the world. And Donald Trump simply won't acknowledge that truth. He's out there and saying that we have essentially won the war. It's basically over. We have obliterated Iran. Meanwhile, Iran is striking our bases, injuring our troops, and destroying our equipments. Donald Trump is lying to you, he's lying to me, he's lying to every single person about this war. And we have to spread the truth. So that's what we are going to do in this video, and we are going to talk about some new reporting we got our last night overnight over the past 24 hours, as well about this very topic about strikes against the United States and where everything stands. So please make sure to subscribe down below, drop a like on video, comment, let me know what you think about this story. And before we get into this New York Times articles, toothless Iran missiles and drone strike show it can still inflict pain. Let's talk about an actual strike that hit an American base in Saudi Arabia the other day and caused a lot of damage on us. On your screens right now is an image reportedly showing the USFA E-3 Sentry that was destroyed in an Iran attack at Prince Sultan Air Base on Friday. Now you can see that this plane was not just damaged, it was fully destroyed. This is not a plane that will be in the air anytime soon, and this is very expensive plane. There is not many of them, and that the United States has because of its sophistication, because of how expensive it is. There is not many, and it was destroyed in this attack. I mean, I don't even know if that's ever going to be in the air again. It's certainly out of the service now. And Donald Trump has not talked about this. He will not acknowledge it. On that very day, it said, "We have destroyed Iran. It's basically over. We have won." That's Trump's claim. In addition to that very same attack, 12 Americans were injured. Trump has not spoken about it. 2 of them significantly injured as well. 12 American troops, up from 10 previously reported, were wounded in these attacks on the Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia, and them were suffered significantly injuries, 10 were concussed. The injured troops were inside a building on the base that was struck in the attack. The attack was damaged multiple US refueling aircraft, that at least one missile struck at the base, as well as several unmanned aerial vehicles. The missile strike at least the second to hit that base, in particular against in the war with Iran, and 5 refueling aircrafts were damaged in an earlier strike. So these missiles are not only getting through, they are actually causing significant damage and injuring American troops, despite what Donald Trump has said about it. And matters of fact, I want to show you this clip of a former M16 chief. That M16 is essentially Great Britain's equivalent of our CIA. It's a foreign intelligence agency. And he said in this interview with The Economist that right now, in this war with Iran, they have the upper hand over the United States because of Donald Trump's incompetence. He's underestimating of Iran that every step of the way. And he said in this interview with The Economist that right now in the war with Iran, they have the upper hand over the United States because Donald Trump's incompetence. He's underestimating of Iran that every step of the way. Watch.
Who has the upper hand right now?
Iran. I regret having come to this conclusion because, like many MI6 officers of my generation, we faced the violence and brutality of the IRGC for most of our careers.
That's the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps.
Yeah. So there is no love lost between us. And I shed no tears for Ali Khamenei, who was killed at the beginning of this war. But the reality is the US underestimated the task. And I think, as of about 2 weeks ago, lost the initiative to Iran. In practice, the Iranian regime has been more resilient than I think anyone would have expected. They took some good decisions, actually, as early as last June, about dispersing their military capability and delegating the authority for the use of those weapons, which has given them significant extra resilience against this incredibly powerful air campaign. They have embarked on what's technically called horizontal escalation, i.e. firing rockets at anybody within range, which at the time, honestly, Shawshank I thought was nuts, but in fact has been a very good way of putting in direct price on the US. Sort of worked. And then they've understood the significance of the energy war and held the Straits at threat and globalized and essentially not internationalized, just globalized the conflict in a way that gives them some weapons. So, they've played a weak hand pretty well. My second point is that Donald Trump has said some stuff that will have confirmed something they knew already, which is that they're in a civilizational war in their terms. They're in a war of existence. Donald Trump made it very clear that he wanted to see them up against the wall, basically, whereas America has embarked on a war of choice. And in those terms, I think that's imbued them with more staying power than their US and certainly US counterparts. And they know that now. And I think that really is giving them the whip hand.
I mean, it's a great point by him, especially that a later point as well, that from them it was at least. It's at least that they are interrupting it. Iran is interrupting it as a war of existence. This is a war of choice for the United States. We are in it is because we want to be in it. Iran is in it because they have to be in it. And the mentally there, and the moral of this war, the approval of whoever the people in a given country is different. It's just a different thing. And he's right about Donald Trump underestimating Iran. I mean, we have talked about it on the show that Donald Trump and the people around him did not anticipate that would cross the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, that is it. Me, anybody. You don't have to be a military expert to think that Iran might use their strongest economic point in a war against the United States to cause some pain. This is initiative, right? You would just think that they do that. Donald Trump for some reason thought they would not. And now we are in this position because there is no plan to reopen the strait. There has never been a plan to reopen the strait, and Donald Trump's plans as of now, at least according to report, is a ground invasions putting boats on the ground. So every step of the way Donald Trump has really fumbled the ball in this war, and Iran, as you know, he just said has actually made some good decisions, and that does not bring me any to joy to say. I don't think to bring any Americans to say, but it's unfortunately an objective truth. So this is the New York Times articles. Missiles and drone strike shows it can still inflict pain. Absolutely. And Iran strikes on an American military base in Saudi Arabia, injuring 2 dozen troops, drones targeting a port in Oman, and a strike on the Kuwait International Airport. Workers at the aluminum faculty in Abu Dhabi wounded by a missiles and drone attack. Trump has said the United States has all the obligatory Iran military capabilities, portraying Iran as a defeated adversary. The US military says that the number of attacks Iran has launched has declined by roughly 90% from the opening day of the war, and the Israeli military says it has rendered roughly 70% of Iran's hundreds of missiles launched inoperable. But as we just heard from that M16 officer, a series of attacks against Israel and Gulf countries in the last several days is only the latest evidence that Iran retains enough missiles and drones to while signaling that country to Trump's declaration. It's still very much in his fight. Millions of Israelis are still rushing into bomb shelters day and night to take cover. The daily routine of sirens and bombs so fear and paralyze. 7 people were injured in central Israel on Thursday following missiles barrage. According to the country emergency service, surveillance video footage captured 2 people rushing out of harm's way before a silver car they were standing near exploded. And now the Houthis has joined the attack as well, making the war even broader. Even when Iranian weapons are intercepted, they still inflict damage. 2 people were killed in Abu Dhabi on Thursday when they are struck by shrapnel falling from an intercepted missile. The US-Israeli campaign has been very effective, attacking Iran's leadership, killing many of them and destroying many military installations. And it has almost completely destroyed its air force and navy, said a security analyst at the Washington Institute who specializes in Iran's and the Persian Gulf. Quote, in terms of optics, a sunken navy, totally obliterated air force, is very important as a metric for victory, he said. But we all understand that the main metrics of the success of for Iran is to be able to continue for missile and drones at Israel, at US bases and Gulf countries. And we know that they still have been able to do that. And here is the bigger problem. Iran still possesses thousands of drones and could still have hundreds of ballistic missiles despite American strikes, according to the US officials. But they said, who spoke anonymously, that it is impossible to know for sure as US intelligence or Iran capability is limited. Public statements from the American military have been carefully worded. For instance, Admiral Brad Cooper, commander of the US Central Command, said that Iran's drones and missile launches rates are down 90%. But that is not the same thing as saying those strikes have eliminated 90% of Iran drones and missiles. Those are two different things. Kelly E. A. Gergio, a senior fellow at the Sisson Centers of Foreign Affairs Research Institute in Washington, says the number of strikes may not matter as much as how effectively Iran is using its arsenal. She has analyzed open source data on Iran's servers, and while cautioning that and the numbers are inexact, found that Iran's hits rate has increased as the war has progressed, more than doubling since March 10th. She says there are signs here that we don't have defeated adversaries, and then we may have one that's adapting and learning and doing enough damage to implement its strategy. The US military may have mistaken reduces activity for reduced capacity. So everything we are talking about right now is examples of Iran inflicting real damage, real pain on the United States and our allies. And Donald Trump so far has no pain and is not being honest with the American people about it. He is out of saying we have essentially won this war, that Iran can no longer hurt the United States. They can't inflict any pain. They can't do anything to us. We are untouchable is what Donald Trump is making it seems. Could not be further from the truth, and she adds that Iran could have been firing fewer missiles and drones because it was reposting them, not because they were destroyed. So there is a lot of explanation for this 90% decrease in firings or just general missiles launches that Trump and others are been often citing. There could be a lot of reasons for this. It doesn't mean that damage has gone down. Matter of fact, according to this analyst, their accuracy has actually gotten better, which is incredibly concerning for all those thousands of troops who have now been developed to the Middle East by Donald Trump. For what reasons? For whatever reasons that they were there. I think Donald Trump going to launch a ground invasions or some ground operation, but that remains to be seen. But the point overall broadly here is that there is still a lot going on this war, and it is frustrating for me and I know for you. Two people that are just openly lying about it. The Trump administration is openly lying about it every single day. So please share the truth, spread the word, make sure to subscribe down below, drop a like on the video, comment, let me know what you think about this story. Let me know if there is anything we have seen that we have missed. I always like to hear from you. Have an amazing rest of your day if you can after everything we have talked about, and we will talk soon.